What up? It is at St. Lauren 57, sober, celibate, saved, and certified. Well, not quite, almost. I got my certificate of completion for my peer sports specialist class. I am super excited about that. I was very blessed to be able to get a scholarship for that program. I was very blessed to be a part of that process because it's, from what I've learned, so after our last class on Friday, we were part of a focus group at the Health Education Council, which I believe is a nonprofit organization, to bring better health awareness and resources to the community. Like, they are really want to be involved in the community. That's like their biggest, that's what's most important to them, as that's my understanding, right? But they provide like many resources for the community. Like, I know they have their own little farmers market in Meadowview and stuff like this. But I was really grateful to be a part of that, and I was grateful for the scholarship. It's just, like I said, what I was really excited about is the fact that, like, my life experience makes me an expert in that particular position. Is almost built around people with experience like me. Anything to do with like mental health, substance use, people who have, lived through different adversities in life, and people who want to help be there to bring hope through their experience, bring hope to other people who may not know where to get resources, people who, in order for us to create that healthy relationship with somebody so they can have trust in different resources of recovery for themselves, and basically help kind of connect, depending on where we get employed at, to help connect clients to case management and recovery resources. I mean, the list goes on and on. So I was really grateful that after we did our final class and got our certificate, did our practice test, and we were able to be part of a focus group, because there's also something called the community health worker, which is a little bit like peer support specialist. Peer support specialist is more there for like the mental health and substance use disorder part of things, whereas the community health worker is more geared towards health on the other side of that spectrum. And this particular council is working on a program, working on an apprenticeship, and the fact that we were able to sit and they were picking our brains to help put things into action, that way they can create employment for us, create employment to help that's geared towards the work that they want to do for our community, and things like this. So that was really exciting. I was super grateful for that. And I also have an interview on Tuesday to be a community health worker for a particular employer, and so I'm really excited about that. It just, like I said, I know I want to help people, and I know my experience will help people, and I know my strength and hope will help people, and I know my positive mentality, my positive attitude, and the fact that I've lived through some shit, I've been through some shit, I can help people I can help build rapport with people so they can trust in somebody wants to help them, and then that way they can realize that, they deserve to have joy, they deserve to get help. And, sometimes we have to face adversities, and there's culture barriers in that, where people don't realize that they can get help. And so I'm really excited to be able to get out in the community and do some really good work. But also, I think there's like so many stigmas when it comes to like mental health. And then, honestly, it's really easy to be uneducated and unaware of like mental health in general and what that looks like and how that develops, because there are moments of psychosis, there are drug-induced psychoses, but then there are like mental health that literally goes undiagnosed, almost throughout people's, like, all of people's lives. I know someone was telling me something about how women these days are getting diagnosed with autism after the age of 35, things like that. So, and it just was really, like, it was really cool. I very much enjoyed that class. I'm glad that, like, I'm, like, got my foot in the door and I have the certificate, and I plan to do more trainings and get more certificates through this health education council. Just to, like I said, as many certificates or trainings I can do, to just keep me educated, keep me in the loop so that I can better help people. But yeah, so I was super excited to be part of that focus group. Got to meet a really cool lady, a really cool woman who, she's from the East Coast, and, she works with the community, and she has her own story, and she was able to share that with us. And just, it's really cool, the work that they're doing. And what I loved about her so much, what the message I got from being a part of that focus group was, education gave her opportunities. Her experience gave her opportunities, and basically, like, her overcoming her adversities and things like this have opened the door for opportunities. And that was really exciting, because the one thing about for me, is I don't have too much of a employment gap, in a sense, because I still have things on paperwork there. Like, in between employment, I was, continuing my education. And so, but also, the really great thing is that I've learned a lot being here at St. John's. Like, I have learned a lot. There's a whole scope of things, and there's a whole spectrum of things that I, didn't know where to get the resources from. Like, and I had spoke how frustrating it was. So there was a couple of times where I went to the Department of Human Assistance to apply for, like, services. And one of the questions they ask you, like, for example, when I lost my job at Hard Rock, like, I was still struggling financially, you know what I mean? And it was really hard to, keep everything, like, going, like the bills, the rent, food in the home, you know what I mean? Because I wasn't on assistance then. And then when I lost my job, I was lucky that my daughter wasn't 5 yet. So I had, like, a month worth of WIC that I was able to apply for. So to get groceries. And then, I was able to, that's when I started knowing about, like, food banks. And I heard of food banks before because, okay, I know it's been a second. I definitely didn't finish the video. I was trying to upload the other day. But if I remember correctly, because I'm not going to go back, I just upload it how I upload it. I'm super busy today. I've been editing things, catching up on job applications. I still am, like, getting a couple hours here and there with the NECNOSH job that I have, which I'm super grateful for. But I know I was talking about how frustrating it is, like, when the times I've needed to go to the Department of Human Assistance, and you do that initial questionnaire with the social worker, and then they ask you if you're, like, is your power off, or if you have enough groceries, or if you're going to run out of food. Like, they ask you this in your, like, initial questionnaire when you, like, reopen a CalFresh, CalWork, CalAid, or Cash Aid, you know what I'm saying, a DHA account, right? And I can't think of what you call it, but it doesn't matter. And so, and it's always frustrating because at the end of the questionnaire, it's not like, okay, so here's a voucher to help you with your utilities, or, okay, here's a voucher, or here's, like, and I know if you do apply, like, there is a way, I think, if you apply for, like, homeless services, I think you can get, like, an emergency front of a portion of whatever Cal Fresh benefits that they're going to give you. I can't quite remember because it's been a while, but I know that that's happened before where they gave me like, they automatically approved $200 for me on my EBT while all the other information was processing. But I can't tell you, like, that time when I did get let go from Hard Rock, and I didn't have, I didn't have a safety net. I didn't have anything, because I was like check to check, week to week, whatever. And like I had said, I know that Delilah was 4 at the time, and right, or was she 5? It was 2022. 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Yeah, so she was going to be 5. And if you can say, you can be on WIC if you're pregnant, and you can have your children on WIC and be on WIC until the age of 5. And so I had gotten let go like the 28th of August or something of 2022. And so I was able to get like a month's worth of vouchers because my daughter didn't turn 5 until September. And so, yeah. So, I had to like look into food banks and stuff. And so, like, I mean, that's kind of like what I really appreciate. And it makes me just appreciate, like, we're all human, and there's absolutely no manual for being an adult. There's no manual for life. And honestly, like, we can watch the people before us. We can watch the adults in our lives, our aunts, our uncles, our grandparents, our mothers and our fathers, right? Or our mentors, like our friends' parents, and we can watch how they navigate life and what struggles they do or don't have, or what tax bracket they're in, what suburban or what project they live in, right? But I mean, really, each of our lives are completely individualized. And even though we end up repeating history, and even though we might walk in their footsteps, and sometimes, we're able to excel and, maybe get, do better than our parents, or, we're able to do better than the environment we were raised in. But shit happens. And I mean, this is the one thing that is still kind of taboo in life, is life starts lifing. And I mean, it's like the only thing that you get talked to when you're in school, at least for me, is like, okay, you go to school, you get your diploma, you go to college, you work, keep going to college, keep trying to get a degree, get a career. You know what I'm saying? Like, get your own car, get your own home. And that's all that's really, like, that's all for me that I ever, like, that's what adulthood looked like. That's all, like, adulthood encompassed, was, like, make sure I graduate high school, get into college, work while I'm in college, and work towards a career. And because, like, just independence is all that, like, my vision and what my goal for adulthood was. But there wasn't, and I mean, really, I just had to kind of, I don't know, I grew up, so I just knew that I needed to be independent. I didn't like what I saw when I saw what dependency looked like, what codependency or what dependency looked like. And also just being kind of a leader and being the oldest and having to fend for myself a lot in my life. Like, I knew what I wanted, and I knew how to navigate school. I know how to navigate applications. I know how to navigate work. I know how to navigate college. I know how to navigate trade. Like, I know how to navigate that part of being an adult, right? But the one thing that was not taught to me was like budgeting, saving, which is why I really wish I paid more attention to Mr. Pritchard senior year when he did economics, because he was a very intelligent teacher. He was a very intelligent man, honestly. And that I would have benefited a lot, if I didn't have my own struggles. But what they also don't talk to you about is like navigating adulthood when it's not just about like your basic necessities. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, those are like my soul, like my financial needs, and those are like my shelter needs, and that's my transportation needs. But what about like my mental health? What about my behavioral health? You know what I'm saying? What about my physical health? And granted, there was a lot of things in my childhood that I knew what to do to eat healthy, but it just always was like a punishment. So it wasn't something I enjoyed. But after I had my son, I really got into like this health kick, and I did really well. Like I learned about exercise. I learned about oxygenating your muscles. I learned about how to properly lift. I learned how to properly use exercise equipment. I learned how to properly do calisthenics. I think that's what it's called. But I learned how to work out. I learned about juicing. I learned about protein shakes. I learned about keto diet. I learned about like food that brings you energy. Like I learned about the benefits of hydrating. And so I was very successful until I got into the casino business, and then I just did not have time to work out. But then I also because before you actually relapse on drugs, there's other things that come into the picture. You know what I'm saying? For me, but actually just in general, like, you know, people, it's not like you just go out, especially after years of sobriety, you don't just go out and seek it again. There are things that start kicking up and triggering trauma, and to where you start relying on these old coping mechanisms, and eventually, like, you can end up picking up that substance again, right? So, you know, I know what I have to do as an adult to be healthy and that kind of thing. But yeah, nobody talks about like maintaining your health. Like, I know how to take care of kids. I know how to breastfeed, make bottles, change diapers. I know what colic is. I know how to burp a baby. You know, I know when to give Tylenol, when to give Motrin, when to take to the doctor, when not to. You know, I know first aid, when, you know, and I know how to raise children. I know how to teach them manners. I know how to teach them responsibility. I know how to teach them respect. I know how to raise children. I know how to take care of people, but I didn't know how to take care of myself. And even though I know how to drive, I know how to navigate life, I know how to navigate the streets, I know how to navigate school, I know how to navigate work. Like, I've been so independent for so long. There's not a single thing I haven't done on my own. But I did not know how to navigate my own mental health. And so that is truly what I appreciate about the whole peer support specialist training and just this season of my life. If life didn't start lifing, and if I didn't go through this, like, I mean, like, if I hadn't got to come to St. John's and sit, like, if life hadn't taken things away from me, and if people hadn't left me, and if people hadn't taken things away from me, I wouldn't have gotten this time to sit with myself. And honestly, it's been hard, but being able to sit with myself has been a huge blessing, because there's lots of things that I've been able to see, and I've been able to work on, and I've been able to learn about, and I've been able to educate myself on. And now there's just so many opportunities. Like, tomorrow I have a job interview. I got 2 places I'll be calling at 2:30 and 3 o'clock. That I got to call back. There's a couple other applications that I'm about to, you know, call up on right now. And, you know, I got to see my daughter this weekend. So, for the first time since October. So that was, you know what I'm saying? So things take time, but I'm really blessed and grateful for the time, and I'm able to find the joy in everything. I'm able to find the lesson in everything, and I'm very blessed that there are places like this and second chances. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm able to create a whole new life for myself. And I've not only been able to create a whole new life for myself, I absolutely love to educate myself. I absolutely love to learn. And this has been a whole new season of learning. This whole last year and a half, like looking into mental health, looking into therapy, looking into counseling, looking into recovery, looking into, and not only that, new parenting skills, new communication skills, new advocacy skills, new medical resources, and I've got a whole new toolbox full of resources and skills and just things that I have. It's just all new that I can add to my life, and so I can have a better life. I'm able to have a new beginning. Be able to have a new beginning and create a better life for myself, and in turn be able to sustain and secure a better life for and a better relationship with my kids and for my kids, and that way we can lock in on their future. And that's the most important thing. To stay present and to keep this, but to sustain and secure a bright future for my children to the best of my ability, like what I'm able to do. And they're going to be able to do things, obviously, in their own life, in their own time, in their own way. But I'm going to be able, as a mother, as a parent, and as the adult, the person who brought them here, I'm able to secure and stabilize things that will help make their futures bright, and hopefully help guide them and just support them in the life that is to come for them. And so I'm truly blessed, and I'm excited because I am learning, like, with being where I'm at. There are a lot of people who come together to create opportunities like this because of the adversity that they face, and how it is really, mental health is still has its challenges, and there's so many different things that people don't realize. Lots of us suffer from mental health in many different ways. You know what I mean? It's not just mental challenges, but there are mental disorders, and it's just, and there are just, when people don't realize that being able to take care of yourself and heal from stress. Like, I think a lot of people suffer from PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. Like, I know I suffer from it. And if you aren't able to take a moment to be able to work through these things in life, and if you're not able to, like, take a moment and create a new toolbox of coping skills, and if you're not able to heal, you know what I'm saying? Like, anytime you're faced with that event again, it's just like a memory. I might be faced with a stressor, and it'll trigger an automatic response, and it'll trigger like an autopilot mode within me, because I've already seen that before. And when I see something that stresses me out, I automatically go into the same manic and cycle of insanity, and to try to shut me off from feeling that stressor, because it's too overwhelming to know how to deal with. But now that I have this toolbox, when I'm faced with a memory, and when I'm faced with a stressor, I know how to advocate for myself. I know what I need to do to nurture myself. I know that I have to, like, reach out and stuff like that. But I know how to reach out. I have a support system. I have a support system in a lot of different places. Like, I have a support system in my NA community. I have a support system in my sisters at St. John's. I have a support system within staff at St. John's. I have a support system within the fellowship of the church that I'm a part of. So, I know how to to rewire my thinking. I know how to rewire my actions so that I can, so that I don't fall back into the cycle of insanity, but so I can overcome these day-to-day stressors that I was so used to either like escaping from, numbing myself to, or just stuffing them down or procrastinating on them, and in turn just creating more stress, more stressors, and separating myself from myself because I can't deal. Because anytime you numb yourself, or anytime life comes at you and you avoid, you know what I'm saying, and when you don't go through it and you avoid it, I mean, you just take yourself further and further and further away, you know what I'm saying, from the correct destination. And because you can no longer be present. You can't be present in your own body and in your own mind when you're distracting yourself from turmoil. You know what I'm saying? When you're distracting yourself from a stressor that you just would rather either, try to find your way around or avoid. You detach yourself, you know what I'm saying, from yourself, because you can't mentally be present. You might, your mind, your body might be able to keep going, but you'll be completely detached from your mind and your feelings if you do not learn how to rewire your thinking, or rewire your actions, like rewire how you deal with a stressor. So yeah, I'm really excited to be a part of this movement in health, so that more we can, because the goal is to reach more people, people who don't have an understanding of what they're going through. But there are people like me who have faced adversity and have truly benefited from the process of recovery, and know exactly what it means, and know exactly what the stigmas are. And I've had to learn to speak up for myself and speak out and learn to choose myself. That way I can heal, and I can give myself a better shot at life. And if I have a better shot at life, that means the people who love me get to benefit from me being in their life. Because if I wasn't taking care of myself, I wouldn't be able to be in their life. You know what I'm saying? And I can't imagine a single parent who truly doesn't want the best for their child. But if you got too much going on and you're not healthy, then we can't ever give back to our children the way that we really want to. So I gotta go. I gotta continue this, checking up on these applications. But change is possible. You know what I'm saying? It's all possible. The possibilities in life are like infinite. You just gotta want it, and you gotta reach out. And I'm excited to be a part of that process to help people be able to get that help. So at St. 157, be safe and be kind.